You never notice it the first time you drive past. Maybe it's the way the road curves away just before the chain link fence begins. Maybe it's how the trees bend low enough to shield it from sight. Maybe it's the way no one ever parks near that patch of gravel or lets their kids roam that side of town. But it's there a crooked gate hanging off rusted hinges, and beyond that a weedy forgotten playground with one swing set. I only noticed it because I walked that first day. I was new to town, just moved into an old duplex on Palmer Street, the kind of rental that smells like trapped air and fading memories, and the landlady had told me everything was quiet around here, no crime, no trouble, perfect for someone like me looking to start over. So I walked every evening hoping to break the routine of box dinners and unpack guilt, and one night I turned the corner past a row of garages and saw at the swing, just one of them on the set. The others were missing, but this one moved not forward, not in the wind, but in reverse, back and back and back, slow and steady, like something invisible was sitting there leaning into each pull. I stopped, stared, waited. No one came, no one left. I chalked it up to the wind, maybe a trick of the slope or the tension in the old chains, but something about the motion made my stomach feel hollow, like the air had thinned around me. And for the first time since I arrived, I turned around and walked home a little faster than before. The next morning, I asked my neighbor about it, Mrs. Layden, an older woman with sharp eyes and hands always trembling like she was cold even in the sun. She was watering her tulips. And when I mentioned the playground, she froze. You don't go near that place. She said, didn't ask, why didn't make a joke. She just had like a rule, like don't touch the stove or stay out of the basement. Why I asked, she looked back at her flowers, said something about things best left buried, and went inside. I didn't go back for 3 days, tried to distract myself with furniture shopping and Craigslist errands, but I kept thinking about it, that swing, that reverse motion, the way it felt more like breathing than swaying. So the fourth night, I walked back. I stood outside the gate, didn't go in the weeds, had grown taller even in a few days, and the swing was still moving. I watched it for 5 minutes, 10. Then something happened. It stopped dead, still, no creak, no sway, just still. And then a sound, not a loud one, not right away, but a thudding rhythm, like something tapping against metal from underneath the earth, and the sound of something being dragged. I backed away, heart pounding, and I swear I saw the gravel shift behind the swing like something tried to push its way up. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I drove to the library, the big one near the courthouse with the old record section, and I asked the woman at the desk if she had anything on Palmer Street. She gave me a look, then led me to a drawer full of microfiche and pointed to the late 1970s. There was a fire. A church caught fire during a summer sermon, and 23 people died, mostly children. They converted the building into a daycare the year before the article had a photo. The building was gone, but in the background behind the firefighters and smoke, I could see it, that swing set, same frame, same bar, same position, and 3 children standing near it, except only one of them had a face. The other 2 were just blurs. That night, I dreamed of metal creaking, of ropes tied to ankles of a man with no eyes, whispering from behind the swing, telling me to look under the gravel, to dig where the shadow never falls. When I woke, my fingers were bleeding, not from scratches, but like I'd been clawing at something. I checked the sheets, dirt under my nails, gravel on the floor, but the doors were locked. That was the first week. There's more. The drawings I found hidden under the floorboards in the duplex, the second swing that appeared and vanished within a day, the sound of a child's laughter echoing through my walls when the power flickers. This is real, and it's getting worse. I don't think it wants to be forgotten, and I think the swing moves backward because time does too, like something's trying to pull itself back from where it was buried. And I'm the only one watching. It was after the second week that things stopped pretending to be subtle. The noises didn't wait for me to sleep anymore. I'd be brushing my teeth, and I'd hear it metal on metal, soft, rhythmic, like breathing again, the swing. Except I wasn't near it, not even outside. It was like the sound had started following me. I tested to put my phone on record, left it in my bedroom, and went to the store, came back 30 minutes later, listened to the audio. At exactly the 20-minute mark came the sound, first the creak, then something heavier dragging along floorboards, and a breath, one single exhale, not mine. I went straight to the landlady's office that afternoon. She lived in the main house up the hill behind my duplex, a structure just as old, with peeling paint and a porch full of wind chimes that didn't move even in the wind. She opened the door. "Before I knocked, you heard it, didn't you?" she said. Didn't wait for me to speak, didn't act confused, just said it like she knew the timeline. I nodded. She sighed, told me to come and offer me tea. I didn't take it. She said the property had history older than most. People remember older than paperwork, older than the city zoning maps before it was a neighborhood. It was a field before it was a field. It was a private home for unwed mothers, and before that it was a burial ground, one of those informal ones families used when land was the only thing they owned and memory was passed down, not written. She said no one told her that when she bought the place. But the first night, she moved and she heard it too, that swing moving backwards, even though it hadn't been installed. She told me not to dig, not to investigate, not to ask questions. It's not something that wants to be understood. She said it wants you to remember it, but not why. That night, I left my lights on the air, was heavy like static pressed down on my chest, and I kept seeing things out of the corner of my children, not full-bodied, just pieces, a leg disappearing behind a door frame, a hand resting against the window, then gone at 3:13 a.m., the bathroom faucet turned on by itself, not a drip, full pressure like someone washing their hands furiously. I ran in, and it stopped, no water in the sink, dry mirror fogged, but the room was cold, colder than outside. Then I saw it, 3 fingerprints dragged downward through the fog across the glass, and below them a word etched like it had been done with a fingernail, home. The next day, I went back to the library, looked for anything I missed, found an old ledger, not part of the newspaper archive, just stuck between 2 donation books inside. Were names, no dates, no addresses, just names, all women. Next to some of the names are numbers 1, 2, sometimes 3, then a line, then nothing at the back page. Someone had scribbled a note in red ink. They never buried the small ones proper. My hands shook. I copied down the list, took it home. Something in me said the swing was more than metal and chain, that it was a marker, that whatever was beneath, it was still there. That night the dragging came again, only this time it wasn't in the recording, it was outside. I watched from my bedroom window the gravel path behind the duplex shimmered like heat waves. Then I saw it, something crawling toward the fence, not human, not animal, more like a bundle of limbs twisted the wrong way. It stopped at the swing, it touched it, and the swing began to move back, and the thing stood upright, slowly, bones cracking like ice. Then it turned toward my window, even though it had no eyes. I felt it looking. Then I heard a voice, not loud, not whispering either. It came from behind me, but also through the glass, not in words. Just a sound like a name being pulled apart, one syllable at a time. Mine. I dropped to the floor, couldn't move for a full minute. I wept, not from fear, not exactly from recognition, like whatever was out there had known me long before I ever came here, like I wasn't just seeing something, I was remembering something I'd forgotten. When I woke up, there were small red footprints across the living room, child-sized, leading from the window to my bed. Then stopping, I followed them backward to the door, which was locked, deadbolt still, engaged chain unbroken, but outside the dirt had been disturbed like something had clawed its way under the house, not and under. That day I called my sister, told her I might need to leave town. She asked why. I told her I was being followed by something that used to be human, maybe, or maybe never, where she laughed, nervously asked if I was using again. I told her I wasn't. Then I heard a sound over the phone, another voice, childlike, repeating her name. The call dropped. She texted me 5 minutes later, "Who was that talking in the background?" I didn't reply because I was alone. That night, I walked back to the playground this time. I stepped through the gate, the air changed. It smelled like metal and wet dirt and something sweet and rotting. I approached the swing. It wasn't moving. I touched it, and I swear the chain pulsed like a heartbeat. Then I looked down. One of the weeds had been pulled up, and beneath it a bone, small, too small, wrapped in red thread and etched with a word, "return." I didn't sleep again because the voice came back in the walls and the floor and the blades of the fan. Even when it was off and it wasn't alone, there were others now, all saying one thing: don't leave, yet you haven't found her. I don't know who she is, but I think she's waiting, and I think the swing moves backwards because it's trying to take me back to when it all began. The next day, I walked past the swing again, but didn't look at it. I felt it move, though I didn't hear it. Like gravity shifted in a way I wasn't supposed to notice, like the air gave way to something heavier. I kept walking, but the weight followed. A memory surfaced, one I hadn't thought of since I was maybe 7. We'd gone to my grandmother's house in the country. She had this old wooden swing tied to an oak that always creaked when you sat on it. I remembered using it one afternoon while the adults talked inside, and I remembered clear as breath now that while I was swinging, something whispered from behind the tree, slowly, like tasting my name, not yelling, just savoring. I told no one until now, until this swing. I went back to the landlady's house, told her what I saw, the bone with red thread, the voices. She didn't look surprised. She pulled something from a drawer. It was a box. Inside were small objects wrapped in muslin. Each had red thread. Each was bone, none were larger than a finger. She said people before me had found them 2 different times, different tenants. Some left, some disappeared. One went mad. She showed me her journal. Every tenant who stayed longer than 30 days had something happen. It always started with a swing. It always ended in silence. She asked if I had any old injury scars that never healed. Right, I nodded. My right wrist fell through a glass door when I was 10, she said. That's where it would start. I didn't understand what she meant until that night. I woke up bleeding, right wrist, the scar had split open clean and quiet, no pain, just the sensation of something moving underneath. The skin not forward, not growing backwards. Unfolding, I went to the bathroom mirror, unwrapped the bandage. The skin looked fine, but felt wrong, too warm. Then I saw it, the faint shape of something underneath, like bone, but too small, pressed against the inside of my wrist, as if something had been placed there long ago and was just now waking up. I stopped going outside, stopped opening the curtains. The swing would be waiting, but it wasn't just outside anymore. The house had changed. It creaked when it shouldn't. Doors shifted, opened slightly, then closed. The fan blades moved when unplugged, and then the voices got louder. Names I didn't know, each one like a tap on the back of the neck, like someone trying to get me to remember what I never lived. I pulled up the floorboards under my bed. Something told me to beneath the dust and cobwebs. I found scratches, little lines carved into the wood, dozens of them, tiny notches like someone trying to count something. And then I saw it, a single phrase scratched in crooked handwriting: "She's underneath us." Nodded she the next night. I left a recorder running in the crawl space, just sat on the dirt, didn't sleep, listened to the playback around 2 a.m. First silence, then a voice, tiny, breathy. Whisper, not a child, something smaller, like the sound of teeth clicking together. Then words. He took her heart before she woke up. Then he buried it under the swing. So she couldn't come back. The next morning, I bought a shovel, went to the swing, waited for the sun to dip, low started. Digging dirt was hard, then soft, then wet, then something caught the edge of the shovel, a box, small metal covered in rust and wax. I pulled it up, didn't open. It couldn't. The air got thick the moment I touched it. The chain on the swing clinked once by itself like approval or warning back home. I set the box on the table, stared at it for an hour. Finally, I opened it. Inside was not a heart, not flesh, but a photograph, old sepia tone, a little girl, sitting on the swing backwards, facing the wrong way, her eyes scratched out, and behind her a figure shadow-shaped, but clear. Its hands weren't hands, too long, too wrong, and I knew it wasn't standing there by accident. It was watching. It had always been watching then. I flipped the photo over a name written in red, Clara. The next 3 nights, the voice in the fan said the same thing, bring her back. I asked the landlady who Clara was. She didn't answer, just said I had until the 7th night before she wakes up all the way. Before it switches places, I asked. What she meant, she just said the swing doesn't just move backwards, it takes things back, takes people back. And if you're close enough to it, when it does, you don't come back, at least not all of you, she said. That's why she won't leave, why she stays in the main house, so it doesn't come looking. That night, I had a dream. I was underground crawling, and ahead of me, Clara's voice, calling, laughing, then screaming, then nothing, and I woke up with dirt under my fingernails and a small tooth in my palm, a child's molar, not mine. And I know now the swing doesn't want to be watched anymore. It wants to bring something back, and I'm almost sure it's not Clara. I didn't sleep after the dream. I sat in the living room, staring at the wall while the fan spun in. Reverse, not the blades, the sound. It hummed backward like a tape unspooling, and under that voices, at least 2 now, not just Clara, one deeper, one slower. It didn't say words, just long exhaled sounds that felt like warnings or mockery. I pressed my ear, close, heard breathing that didn't belong in a room, and that was when I noticed the box was gone, the one from the dirt gone. But the picture remained laid out on the table where I hadn't left it now. It was turned upside down again, and the red name was gone, scratched off. Underneath the scratch marks was a different name, carved into the paper, my name. I couldn't move for almost an hour, my muscles just locked. I could breathe, but barely. It felt like the air had congealed around me, like something had its arms around my chest and was waiting, watching, just like the figure behind the girl in the photo. And I knew without a doubt that whatever had been in that photo was now in the house. The landlady stopped answering her door. No light on in her house, no sounds, mail piling up. I think she left or something took her. And then the dreams started coming in sequence, each one showing more the swing moving backward at dusk, Clara crawling toward me without eyes, her mouth opening wider than any child's. Mouth should no voice coming out, just that same reverse lullaby, sound like tape winding backward too fast, and that deep shape behind her smiling. I found another bone under my pillow, not human, too thin, maybe from a bird tied with red thread again, and a tiny note rolled into it. I unwrapped it with shaking hands. It just said, "You're almost," or I started checking old police reports, found a few news clippings online, had to dig deep, one for 1980. 3 girl named Clara Edens went missing from this exact address. Parents reported her vanished after playing in the backyard. Only thing left was a shoe and one of her baby teeth on the back step. No signs of struggle, just silence. Later reports said both parents died by suicide 6 months. Later house was abandoned for almost a decade, then re-rented. Every tenant after had similar issues. All reported dreams, swing movement. One man disappeared, another went blind over time. One woman claimed she'd spoken to Clara through the fan vent. She was committed. The files are sealed. I printed everything. But when I came home, the printer paper was blank, the files erased, even from my browser history, like the house wouldn't let me keep the Evidence that night the swing was gone, not just still gone. Chain dangling, empty ground below, disturbed again like something had come up instead of been buried, and the fan in my house wouldn't stop spinning, even unplugged that backward hum louder, now voices clearer. And I heard my name again, only not from Claire, from the deeper one, like two voices spliced together, one calling, one dragging. I tried to leave God in the car, drove 2 miles before I realized the roads had looped. No signs, no traffic, just trees. And the hum following through the vents, and then I was back in front of the house swing there again, moving backward, and the lights in the landlady's house flicked on for the first time in days, but every bulb was red. I didn't go and I locked my own doors, instead put towels in. The vents closed, every curtain sat in the center of the living room with every light on, didn't help the TV turn on by itself. At 2:03 a.m., just static, but underneath the snow a face flickered Claire's eyes, still gone, but mouth open now, and something crawling out of it, not bugs, not hands, teeth, just teeth spilling from her mouth onto the screen, and I couldn't look away until the power went out and the swing creaked again, only this time it wasn't in the yard, it was in the attic. I never had a swing. In the attic, I never even went up there. But I heard it now, rust on rust, metal groaning chains bending in ways they shouldn't. And then a soft voice through the floorboards above me, "Why'd you forget me?" I didn't answer, I couldn't, but my mouth opened on its own, and something else answered back, something in my voice, but not mine. And it said, "You weren't supposed to wake up. I think something's trying to replace me piece by piece, the name on the photo, the bone under my skin that's growing the mirror. Reflection that lags by a second now. I think Clara's not the only one who was buried, and I think I might have lived here before, or maybe not lived, maybe I died here once. And this is just the house remembering, dragging me back into a role I didn't. No, I played the deeper voice, keeps saying the same phrase now over and over, bring her back, bring her back, bring her back. I think the swing moves backward, not just in space, but in time, and it's swinging toward a moment when something horrible happened, and I'm not watching anymore, I'm inside it being swung to. I stayed up until the sky lost its color, not light, not dark, just a dead in between. The swing creaked exactly 3 times at 3:03 a.m. I counted each creak longer than the last, each one. Pulling something forward, I sat on the couch, staring at the ceiling, at the thin cracks forming above me. They weren't there. Before, they weren't natural. They looked like something clawed from the inside, trying to reach out or pull me, and the fan started again. It hadn't stopped for 5 nights, even unplugged, even broken the air in the room. Didn't move. But the blade spun, and the voice was back clearer. "You were here before I pressed record." I asked out loud, "What are you?" Me no answer, only static, but when I played it back, it wasn't my voice asking. It was Clara's younger, different, more real than I remembered. "What do you mean?" she said. And then a man's voice answered, "You were promised." I woke up in the hallway, the front door wide open, the swing moving, but not backward this time. It went forward, slow, deliberate. And I swear I saw something on it, not Claire, something taller, its legs bent wrong at the knees, its head twitching like a bird's. I closed the door, locked it. But the swing didn't stop, it kept swinging for hours. The walls of my house feel softer now, like skin when I press my palm to them. I swear they breathe. And yesterday, I swear I felt a heartbeat under the drywall, fast fluttering like a scared animal or a trapped child I cut. Open part of the hallway wall behind the old thermostat, and found something inside, not wires, not insulation, but cloth, damn cloth, wrapped tight around bones, a dress, a tiny shoe, and at the very bottom, a small photo, a different one this time. It was a man, his eyes gouged out in the print, and next to him, someone had written in red crayon, "Daddy took the swing apart, but she still came back." The house smells like copper, like wet pennies. It's in my clothes, my bed, even my food tastes like it and last. Night I woke up with dirt in my mouth, my fingernails filled with black soil, my wrist split open again. And this time I didn't bleed, something else came out. It looked like thread, but it moved, wiggled on its own like it was alive, like it had purpose. I pulled it free, 6 inches long, red and slick, and on the end was something sharp, a child's tooth pierced through it. I didn't scream. There was no point. I found the old floor hatch under the carpet in the back room. I hadn't noticed it before, even though I'd cleaned that room dozens of times. It was bolted shut, not nailed, bolted with rusted iron crosses along each side, each one carved with a name, one of them mine. I pried it open. The smell hit first, wet earth rot, and something metallic like blood. Left in heat, a ladder led down in a blackness that didn't feel empty. I climbed down. Anyway, the crawl space was larger than the house above it. That made no sense, but I knew not to question it anymore. And in the dirt was a swing set buried halfway, just the chains and top bar sticking out, as if something below was still using it. I turned my flashlight off. I didn't know why. I just did. And in the dark, I heard it moving, not the chains, not the swing, the child. She whispered right behind me. I couldn't see her, but her breath was warm. You're the last one. She said, then the swing can stop. I asked her what that meant, asked if I was supposed to die here. She laughed, but it wasn't a child's laugh. It was like multiple mouths laughing at once, some of them full of water, some full of soil, some full of teeth. I ran, climbed back up, but the ladder was longer now, stretching like time was bending in the crawl space. I don't know how long I climbed, but when I got back into the house, it was morning, and the house was covered in pictures, dozens, hundreds of the same girl, Clara, eyes scratched out in every single one. And in each photo, the swing was moving, and behind it, that shaped the one with the wrong hands. I found an old diary behind the bathroom mirror. Wrapped in red thread, the pages were stuck together with something thick and smelled like dried blood. It belonged to a boy who lived here in 1968. He said the swing belonged to his sister. Clara said she would whisper to it, treat it like it was a person, a thing that listened and moved only for her. Said she went missing after trying to make it move on its own. Said he saw something crawling out from under it the night she vanished, something that looked like her, but wasn't. He said their father buried the swing, but it wouldn't stay buried. It would keep surfacing every 7 years, and every time it came back hungrier. Tonight is the 7th night since I dug it up. I hear footsteps in the attic, bare feet soft. What the swing is creaking in the walls now, not outside. It's under the floor, inside the ceiling, between the rooms, somewhere deeper than the house itself. And the voice keeps saying the same thing. If you don't take her place, she'll take yours. I don't know what I'll do tonight. I've boarded the doors, covered every mirror, thrown out every photo, but I still see her in the corners, reflected in the TV when it's off, hanging from the ceiling above me. While I sleep, the swing is not a toy, it's a ritual, and it's almost finished. I don't know if I'll be here tomorrow. But if you hear a creak at 3:03 a.m., don't look out the window. And for the love of God, don't sit on it. I didn't want to return. Not after the last time. But some part of me knew I had to. Because the swing had followed me. I heard it first in the middle of the night again. That same distinct creaking noise. But this time it wasn't outside. It came from the hallway. Then closer. Right outside my bedroom door. The worst part, the swing didn't sound like it was being pushed. It sounded like it was pushing itself backward, always backward. I pressed my ear to the door that night, barely breathing. No one else was home. My roommate had taken off after what we saw in the basement 2 nights before, after we found the blackened dolls and the pit of children's shoes. He'd barely spoken a word since. Packed and left with glassy eyes. The sound creaked again, then stopped, then tap, top, top, like a toe brushing the floor, or a boot heel swinging back. Something metal hit the wood softly, again and again. I cracked the door open. The hallway was empty. But the air, it was cold in the way that presses on your lungs and won't let go. On the floor were faint drag marks, parallel lines, like chains being pulled, like something dragging itself backward. I tried staying somewhere else. I stayed at a friend's for a few nights, but the swing sounds followed me. First through the phone, the ringtone I never set, then through the vents, and then in the shower. The water ran cold and pink, like rust, like blood. I did the only thing I could think of. I went back to the schoolyard, the one that had been fenced off for 30 years. The one with the swing set that no one talked about. The one where the children disappeared, where my sister vanished, where I saw her reflection in the swing that first night. I came prepared this time. A crowbar, a flashlight, salt, iron nails. I wasn't sure what might work, but old rules still linger when you grow up near places like this. The gate was bent just enough for me to slip through, as if something had opened it, as if something had been waiting. The swing was moving before I even got close. Backward, heavy, slow, a rhythm like breathing. The chains groaned and spat flakes of rust into the grass. The seat was slick with something darker than oil. It reeked of soil and burnt paper. The other swings, there were 4 of them now, not 2. They weren't their last time. The extra 2 swung with erratic, sickening jerks. One twisted slowly like it was being wound up. The other moved in tiny, stuttering spasms, like something trapped was trying to move but couldn't. And I saw the silhouettes. In each swing. Children. Thin. Still. Not breathing. Their faces were smudged and wrong, like someone tried to erase them. Except the eyes. Wide open. Glinting white. Then I saw the 5th swing. It hadn't been there before. It was new. Clean. Stainless chains. Shiny red seat. Waiting. Empty. But I knew. It was for me. I don't remember walking to it. Only standing in front of it. My hands hurt. I've been squeezing the crowbar so tightly the grooves had bled into my skin. The air pulsed, and then it all went silent, like the entire world inhaled and never let it out. The other swings stopped mid-motion. The children were gone, but something else stood in their place. My sister. She was older. Wrong. Her limbs hung at sharp, sick angles. Her skin had the tone of long rotten bark. Her face was mostly intact, except her mouth was sewn shut with what looked like human hair. She pointed at the 5th swing. "Don't," I whispered. She nodded once, then opened her mouth without breaking the threads. A sound pushed out. It wasn't her voice. It was mine. "Let me out. Let me out. Let me." I turned and ran. But the swing creaked again. Once. Then again. Then my phone rang in my pocket. I stopped cold. The screen was black, no number. Just a red notification. 1 missed swing. I didn't answer. I threw the phone into the trees. I kept running. But the sound never stopped. I went home. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Because the walls were moving. Warping. The wallpaper curled at the corners like something underneath. It was breathing. Every hour, on the hour, I heard a new creak from the ceiling. Then I saw the chains. They were growing from the sheetrock, dripping, backward. And every time I blinked, they got closer to the floor. This is my last entry. If you're reading this, I failed. The swing isn't at the schoolyard anymore. It's here, in the hallway. It moved in reverse and dragged the place with it. Reality tore like fabric. I watched the house fold inward. The windows turn black. And the door, the one to my room, is gone. Replaced by red chains and a swinging seat. She's here now. My sister. She's standing in the corner. waiting for me to sit. She won't stop pointing. The air smells like rust. The wallpaper is bleeding. The chains keep moving. And above the swing, where the ceiling used to be, I see my reflection in the dark wood, swinging, swinging, backward, and I finally hear the whisper. You were always meant to swing next.